I thought this stuff wasn't supposed to melt styrofoam. It's melting my styrofoam. Did I get the wrong stuff? Ah! Why does this keep happening? Like clockwork, between comments on my videos and posts to the various terrain building groups, it's like once a month somebody makes that post. Piece of XPS foam melted and a picture of the Minwax fast drying polyurethane, asking if they got the wrong stuff or if it was defective or if I lied to them. I don't know. When I made the video saying that this was a great way to coat XPS foam projects because it doesn't melt it, I left out one piece of information. And I left that piece out because I thought it was common knowledge. But never underestimate what people might not know. First of all, when I recommend using this, I recommend it because it doesn't melt XPS foam, but I'm recommending using it as a final top coat to your project that already has some Mod Podge and some paint on it, which adds a few layers of protection, making anything in this that could cause melting pretty much irrelevant. I'm not recommending this to be used on raw styrofoam. However, you can. I just went outside, like I've tested before many times, and I sprayed this heavily with the polyurethane, and it did not melt on raw foam. However, for the sake of science, I created these melts, making the same mistake that you are all making when you have this problem. I'm tired of typing it out and putting it in comments to these posts, so now I can link to this video. The reason it is melting when you are testing it on foam is because you are not following regular good practices for spraying aerosol. I know what you're doing. You're taking this, you're taking your foam, and you're spraying like 2 or 3 inches away, a heavy puddle, and it starts to melt and you freak out. You don't spray things that way. That's not how you do it. When you're spray painting paint or clear coats or whatever it is, you don't spray it this close. Best practice is 12 inches away, light sweeping passes, back and forth, 12 inches away. This is the piece of information I left out of my video because I thought that was common knowledge. It even says it on the can, if you read it, to make sweeping passes from at least 12 inches away. The polyurethane does not melt foam, unlike other clear coat varnishes that can. However, this is an aerosol can and it still has a solvent in it and a propellant. And when you spray, those chemicals evaporate and dissipate before hitting your project. So when you're from 12 inches away, the acetone or similar product that is in this dissipates before hitting the piece and it won't melt. If you spray it right up close, you're not giving it time to do that and it will start melting. So it's really simple. Just spray lightly, 12 inches away, and you will not melt your foam, I promise. I even in that video said that you should always test a new can or just test it in case it's different where you are buying it. But honestly, I've been using this stuff so much now that I can spend like 40 hours building this elaborate piece, grab a new can from a store where I've never bought it before and confidently spray it on the project. I don't even test it anymore because I know this stuff works and I know it doesn't melt as long as you spray it correctly. Another frustrating thing is that along with those questions about why is it melting the foam comes a wave of misinformation. I mean, this is not something that is exclusive to the crafting community or a problem like this. This is just how the internet works. Somebody posts a question, Usually there is a handful, like a whole bunch of really helpful people that give the right answer before I even come across the post. Whenever I see that post, there's a lot of awesome people in the community that straight up say right away, hey, you're spraying too close, too heavily, that's the problem, just move back, it's fine. Answered, boom, done. Always, like clockwork, people start commenting after that, they didn't read the comments, and they start giving inappropriate answers that are actually just going to lead to a worse situation for the original poster. I've seen all sorts of things, people saying it's because they got the wrong stuff, because the can they showed is flammable, and it's because it's flammable, it's gonna melt the foam. That's a weird concept, hey? Like, because this could set on fire, like it's gonna melt something? It doesn't even like make sense. The cans I use are flammable. The correct product is supposed to be flammable. That has nothing to do with it. I also always see people posting a link to another product by Minwax, which is their Polycrylic water-based sealer. And often with comments saying, hey, this stuff is not flammable, so it won't melt the foam. Well, those posts are correct that the water-based polycrylic will not melt the foam. But neither will the polyurethane if used correctly. Anyways, the polycrylic is not flammable, it's water-based. But it's also not polyurethane. It is an acrylic. That is why it's called polycrylic. It has a small amount of polyurethane in it, but it's not the same product. That being said, you can use that product on your pieces and it will work, but each can will cost you a few dollars more, and the actual finish won't be quite as hard as the polyurethane. If you want to spend a few bucks more for no reason, go ahead and use that product. You're also going to be risking having a coating that turns out milky on any dark pieces, because polycrylic is meant to coat light colored painted wood projects. It doesn't perform well on top of dark surfaces because it can dry inconsistently and it can dry kind of cloudy. So if you have this dark stone tower and you paint it, you could have bad results. Likely you'll be fine, but it's a risk I don't understand why you would take when you can buy a cheaper product that works better. Where polycrylic is great is if you're working out of a can and you're using it to brush on, like say you're doing some kind of like glossy water effect. Polyacrylic is great because it's soap and water cleanup, so you don't have to clean your brush with like paint thinner or mineral spirits. So it's amazing for that. But when you're spraying out of an aerosol can, you shouldn't have to clean anything up if you are doing it right. So I say save your money, use the product that works, that I've used 100 times and thousands of people have been using in this community with great success. Just spray it on from the correct distance. I'm also realizing that it might not only be people spraying it really close, it might be a combination of that and taking it right out of the package and starting to spray and not shaking it up enough. You really have to shake it up so that the polyurethane mixes with the carrier and propellant, and if you don't mix this, the polyurethane is going to be settled at the bottom and you're just going to get a crazy dosage of the propellant and it's going to be a lot harsher and melt it. Shake it up, spray it, sweeping motions from a distance. You're going to be fine. It won't melt. The other thing I want to bring up here is that every single time someone makes that post about their stuff melting from this, more than one person will post a link to the Krylon Styrofoam Primer saying this won't melt foam. I don't know why this always comes up, because it's like somebody is making a post on a baking community saying, hey, I'm trying to make banana bread and it always turns out poorly. And the reason it's turning out poorly is because they're not using brown bananas. But then someone comments with, these apples. The Krylon Primer and the Minwax Polyurethane serve two entirely different purposes in the terrain building process. They are not a replacement for each other. They have nothing to do with each other. If someone posts spray painting something black or white and it melts the foam, yes, the Krylon Primer that's meant for foam is a great solution to present to someone because, hey, this is how you spray paint in a way that won't melt the foam. The clear coat is meant as a final step to seal your project. It's the last thing you do. So what good would a spray-on primer be for that? You're not using the Minwax to prime your project. People are just testing it on raw foam. So while that Krylon spray-on stuff is fine if you want to like white prime styrofoam without the risk of melting, that's what it's for. This is not for the same thing that the Minwax is for. Not even close. So just to reiterate, the Minwax fast drying polyurethane in a can, if used correctly, shake it up enough before you spray it from 12 inches away and do light sweeping passes. I don't care how much you put on, you could do 100 passes and just drench your piece. It's not gonna melt. So pick this stuff up, use it, but use it for what it's meant to be used for in terrain building. Well, not meant to be used for, but like what I've discovered it's great for using, which is finishing your project, clear coating it once it's done, and you will be fine. I promise. Anyways, guys, I know that was a bit ranty. It's just sometimes I get frustrated when I see the same things happening over and over and over again and the same misinformation going over and over and over again when I feel like I've already covered it. Maybe I didn't cover it well enough, but now this is my definitive. I'm gonna link to this when people make those posts video. I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, hit that like button, drop me a comment below. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. Most of my videos are more tutorial based and less berating, ranting. If you wanna buy some of this stuff and you wanna make sure you're buying the correct stuff, you can head over to blackmagiccraft.ca and I have links to it through my Amazon affiliate store. It'll make sure you get the correct product and I will get a small commission from the sale that will help to fund this channel and future videos. Also, if you really wanna help out the channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. The funds from those supporters are what makes it possible to continue this channel. And I got some cool rewards for the people that support and we're building a great Patreon community. So consider checking it out. Until next week, guys, cheers, happy crafting, and may your foam stay unmelted and pure.